but Oliver's about to be everywhere. You gonna blow up.
Yeah, you gotta tell him, Jay.
I'm gonna tell
him, Jay.
Everybody go. Everybody go. Everybody go. Everybody go. Everybody go. Everybody go. Everybody go.
Let's see if Oliver has decided to show up. Well, here he is. Oh, we're gonna have things to say to Mr. Oliver. I don't know why I'm checking my hair. So when I say 12:30, I mean 12:30. So I don't know about you. Oh, but David St. John already chimed in and everything. I was like,
I cursed everybody out over here. Everybody. I'm so sorry for being tardy for the party. Please let me know how I can make it up.
Hold on. Well, we are going to start. I'm just going to see, like, my questions went away. I know people like chime in at the bottom, their comments. Let's see. Comments. Turn off commenting. No, it should be there. My comments went away for some reason because I like to try and follow what people are saying. But do you see them or you don't see them either?
I can see them.
I don't know why they're not like popping up for me. Maybe it's like the internet. Who knows? Okay, but you're here. As soon as my comments come back, hopefully I will see people again. Damn, I can't. It's bums because I like to like respond to people. Let's see.
Yes, Molly.
I'm trying to do a test here. Anyway, it's not it. Anyway, they went away, but you're here, and okay. Well, you're here. So who are you cursing out? Who made you late?
Everybody.
Supposedly,
it's everyone's fault today. Everyone knows this is the moment of my life I've been waiting for, praying for.
And you left me just hanging, but that's okay. I logged in with Evan. We had a great little chat. He had some great questions. So yeah, so let us, okay, so first of all, it's lovely to meet you.
It's so lovely to meet you too.
Looking all glamorous and glorious. I'm gonna turn my sound a touch. There we go. So let us hear your you have got questions about, first of all, explain to everybody who you are and why you have so many questions about Top Model and how many times you have watched these cycles.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Oliver Twixt, spelled with an X. I am a hip hop artist. I am a content creator, and I am a social media personality. And I have watched Top Model shit. I don't know, Jay, probably like 1,000,000 times since Genesis. It's been like a part of my life. I was talking to our mutual friend and I was like, I believe Top Model for so many queer people like myself was like Drag Race before there was Drag Race, where you could see all this creative stuff. You could see fashion, and then it includes the states of people being eliminated. So like it was this, I don't know, it was just a world that you could immerse yourself in and attach yourself to all these different characters. And I know for me, like being young, I'm still young, but when Top Model was out, I was like, you know, 4, 5, 7, 8, like, you know, in the very beginning. And it was so inspiring for me to see people like yourself, queer people, specifically queer men of color, who were in the mainstream doing what they love, like Miss J walking her ass back and forth in heels.
In panties.
Yeah, in panties. You dealing with makeup, you telling these girls what to do. People like Andre Leon Talley, who's this powerful queer man of color in fashion. It was inspiring for people like me. And I'm pretty sure there are millions of other queer people of color, queer people of not just queer people all over the world, people all over the world who were inspired by it. So yes, Top Model is number 2 favorite show.
Oh, awesome. Oh, number 2? Okay, well, what was number 1?
Oh, Charmed. Nothing beats Charmed.
Okay, go.
Nothing would be Charmed. Nothing.
So for Top Model, what would be, first, I know you've got tons of questions, but what would be the biggest unanswered question that you have? Like, and by the way, my commenting's back on, so y'all, I can see your comments. So I am following along because I want to make sure that you're all engaged in this conversation. But what is your biggest question of all time?
You know what? I will give you kudos and say you've done a great job at answering a lot of questions. And of course, you've started a trend where all the girls are coming out of the trenches and they're telling their stories. I know I've had the pleasure of speaking to some, so a lot of my questions have been answered. But what I want to know, to kick it off, thank you for that, is what really happened in detail, if you know, between the first top model, Miss Adrianne Curry, Tyra Banks, and her not getting some of her prizes?
Well, I don't know. Okay, that I don't know in detail in terms of why. No, I really do. Look, I'll tell the truth. I really don't know the details why. I do know that I can confirm she really didn't get them. And I think what happened was, you know, the show was in its infancy. It was, you know, it was first season. Everybody thought, oh, we're going to, you know, do this. It's going to go. And really they thought we might only have one other season. My understanding, because I believe Revlon was involved in everything, no one thought the show was going to blow up and become the global phenomenon that it became. And I genuinely think just sponsors thought, like with regular television at that time, remember, reality was very new, very, very new. You had The Real World and Survivor on the air. That was it. No other reality TV. So sponsors reigned supreme in that day. They called the shots. So when their winner didn't win, they thought, well, we'll just pull out, thinking, you know, sponsors control advertising. They control what hits the airwaves. And then what happened is this was a shift in time. There was like a paradigm shift where reality ultimately was starting to take hold in the culture and reality television. And then, so, you know, that's why season 2, there were a very different set of prizes, and they wrote contracts to make sure that these, you know, sponsors could not pull out of their prize win. But season 1, I think it was just a learning ground. It was definitely not Tyra's fault or any producer's fault. I think it was just, you know, the way the contracts were written, and there were like these caveats, and that's how those sponsors got out of it, because they just wanted, you know, somebody else to win.
So are you saying that it wasn't really Tyra's fault?
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't her fault. I don't know how much she went to bat, but I do know there's only so much power she would have in that situation. And again, like I said, sponsors reigned supreme at that time. And so she, you know, they kind of pulled the rug out, which unfortunately that left Tyra with egg on her face, unfortunately, and she bore the brunt of it with Adrianne. Although I think not responding to Adrianne, not the smartest move, because that ticked Adrianne off even more.
Yeah, I watched her I watched her live, and she said she called Tyra a fat bitch to her face. I was like, well, Adrianne, you definitely not getting no goddamn money now, because you didn't cuss this lady out.
Yeah, yeah, like name calling, there's no room for it.
No room for name calling.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Do I have permission to jump full face first into my questions?
Sure, go ahead. Oh gosh, he's got a list.
So I've broken them up into 3 categories: an easy round, a random question round, and then things that I have questions about the meltdown.
Okay.
Sounds good?
Sure, okay.
All right, so let's jump into them. Don't think too much on them, Jay. I want your gut response.
Okay. I'm good.
First question: with only 4 slots, including Tyra, who was your all-star panel of judges?
All-star. Oh, well, you said not including Tyra.
No, including Tyra. So Tyra and 4 other people.
What would be our all-star? Well, it would be Tyra, Paulina, definitely Paulina Porskova. Live for her. So Tyra, Paulina. I would have to throw Miss J in there, and then the all-star. You know, I would have to put. I would have to throw Janice in. I would love to see what Janice, Paulina, Tyra, and Miss J would do.
Give me one more. To round out to 5.
To round out to 5. Well, that's usually the guest judge. Well, I would say I'd want to be on there because I'd want to be in the middle of that chaos.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Okay, next question. Can you name some of your favorite all-time contestant photos during the show?
Of course I can. I mean, there are so many.
Give me three.
From Okay, name three. Okay, well, we can go all the way back as far as, the infamous Joanna and the helmet shoot, because I literally went out and bought the helmet. Production
Mine
had no
too.
money. They had no money. I was producing the shoot. They're like, well, whatever you do, you do. You're doing the. So I did her makeup. I literally bought that helmet in Armani, threw it on her head. So that was number one.
Mine too.
Oh gosh, what's another all-time? There's so many. I talked about this recently with Molly, some of the epic shoots from Morocco are some of my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, and not because, I did that chat, but just truth be told, that shoot that Molly did when the camel was lifting up, it was just like the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It was a moment in time.
It was the moment.
I actually I do like a version of that with a camel in my book, although it's a very different twisted story. And what Molly doesn't know, that moment from the book is somewhat inspired by her getting up on that camel and that whole moment.
Yes. Give me one more.
So there's that. God, favorite photo shoot. Oh, there's so many, some of these.
One of my personal faves that I remember is Fatima in, I can't remember the country right now, dang it. But it was the couture, and she had on that blunt wig, and
we were in Italy.
Italy,
yes.
And I believe Tyra shot it, and she had that broken down silhouette.
Yes,
with the wig.
yes.
Oh, that's one of my favorite photos.
Yeah, and Fatima is a stunning model who has gone on to do incredible stuff. And it's hard. You said just three, but I mean, there really are so many. Like, I know a lot of fans love Eva's Viraggio jewelry with the spider, which was truly inspired by basically an old ad that Iman had done back in the day. And so literally I was recreating that.
Well, good. So I'm going to jump into some random questions now.
Go random. I'm ready. I can handle you.
Okay, so for a long time on the show, before panel, we would see a photo of Tyra that was kind of in the same vein or same creative that the girls had shot, which, I mean, as a fan of the show, I was sitting there, I'm like, okay, Tyra, girl, let these girls have it. Dang it. Now, why you got to upstage them? But I digress. When were those photos taken, and why did she stop doing it?
So in the beginning, we'll go all the way back to cycle one, which was real bootleg. Remember that judging room with the blue drapes? And by the way, you want to talk about real rogue, like a production that was just, they were scrambling to get it together. I remember 2 days before that judging, they were like, okay, we're doing judging in 2 days. Where are we going to do the judging? The hotel can give us one of these rooms. And they're like, okay, they had no set. So literally they put up pipe and drape. That's that blue drape. And then literally the set decorator went and got a table, that clear table and chairs. I'm like, you're going to need something in the room. This is me talking to Tyra. I'm like, you really going to have a room with drapes and a desk? So the way that shoot came about was, I said, what if we knew we were going to do the monitor on the side to show the girls' photos, which I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So I said, well, you need something above the desk. It's going to look so blank. So I said, well, I have all these photos of Tyra that, like, I had been shooting all these different shots with her more recently. I said, why don't we just put up a different photo of you every week? So literally one of the labs in, kind of the Chelsea area, we would print them up on Bristol board and hang them on fishing line. Remember, they were literally just hung, dangling above the desk. And those shots actually had nothing to do with the girls' shoot. So when we went into cycle two, we said, maybe the shot, now that we're planning things for once, maybe the shot should do with something that the girls are doing. So that was the connection. But then the other thing is, so season one, they were just already photos that I'd already shot with her. And we didn't need a release on, so we just kind of hung them up. That's how it started, because the room was going to look blank as shit. And then what people don't know is season one, you know how that monitor was on the side? We had no digital tech. We had nothing. Those photo shoots, literally, we would do them. I would sit there with Tyra. We would select the best photos, especially season one. We really were picking best photos. We really were, season one. And then so I would sit on the side with that monitor plugged into the computer, and I was the person bringing up the photo on the screen too. Like I had to be every woman. Like I was literally, I was still doing Tyra's makeup for the show. So I would touch up her makeup, run and do this, sit on the side. I was bringing the stuff up on the monitor. That was my job season 1. People do not know. Like I literally was everywhere. Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up. Okay. Awesome. So then my next question is, Covergirl was a longtime collaborator with Top Model.
Yes, starting season 3.
What is your favorite Covergirl moment, and why do you think they left the show?
Well, I actually know. So I was working with Procter & Gamble a lot at the time. And so even when Covergirl was brought onto the show, I went to the pitch meeting with one of the co-executive producers to pitch the show. Again, reality was new. Bringing sponsors in on shows like this was done very, very differently. So we pitched it. I totally remember the room we were in when we pitched, you know, America's Next Top Model.
Like Pablo did in the book.
Well, actually, no, it's not. That is not in the book. That was pitching the show. This is us pitching the, you know, the clients in terms of bringing them on as a sponsor. And so one of the things we said in that pitch was that, you know, we can integrate them very seamlessly into the show. It had never been done before. Instead of just putting product out, we would do commercials. We would do photo shoots. The commercials, we would have the claim lines. I would reiterate the scripts. You know, I'd work with the girls. So the audience was kind of getting the messaging for Covergirl. This was kind of new at the time. You know, reality shows had not done that. So they loved that idea. They came on board. And so that it became my job to kind of work with MediaVest, the company that, you know, was the in-between with Procter & Gamble and Covergirl to make sure that all their needs were met on camera. And that's why I was always that person running all that Covergirl stuff. And my favorite shoot honestly was, and not because it was the first one, but it was that cycle 3 in Tokyo, because I'd been looking at all the Covergirl ads at the time, and I knew we were in Tokyo, and I wanted to do something that spoke to the culture, but also represented Covergirl in the US. So, you know, creating that little kind of like koi pond, so to speak, and having the girls and the kind of the shimmering water was going to work with the, I think it was the Wet Slicks Crystals lip gloss. How do I even remember that? But yeah, so that was my favorite just because it was such a success. Covergirl was really happy. And then they came back and they wanted to be with the show, you know, right through. And yeah, they left the show at the same time I left the show. Yeah. Exact same cycle.
Yes, sir. Okay. So you answered my question about Adrianne Curry. Now I have a very, very, very random question. Still top model related, but very random. So I was watching an episode yesterday, cycle 4 to be specific, and Mathu Andersen was the photographer for the outside gas station, the elements, wind, rain, all that stuff going on.
Yes.
And so I remember hearing you saying in your Jade's chat that you and him were great friends, of course, with Sutan and all that other stuff. Now, we also know Mathu Andersen from Drag Race as being a longtime collaborator with Drag Race and RuPaul.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, Mathu Andersen disappears from Drag Race and disappears from the internet, and no one really knows where he is. What can you tell us about Mr. Mathu Andersen right now?
I haven't spoken to Mathu in a while. I will say this because you know, the kind of the last I've heard, and we have other friends that are close with him. He hasn't been well, and I know he's had some struggles. So I want to kind of respect his privacy around that. But what I will say is Mathu is probably one of the most genius creative visionaries I have worked with, and I've worked with some incredible talent in my career, and I'm so grateful to get to meet and know so many of these people. And Mathu had a mind like no other, and his vision, he's just incredible. He could do anything. So yeah.
Good. Okay. So now I want to get down to the Meltdown.
Okay,
now,
sure.
Of course, you told us that the Meltdown is this satirical world that draws inspiration from your experiences on Top Model, and of course,
and the whole entertainment industry, really. Yeah.
But I mean, okay, let's just be very, 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 very blunt. And
okay, let's go. Let's
get
get real.
I'm talking right now.
Okay, let's get real.
Let's get real. Because I mean, the Meltdown cover, I'm looking at it right now. It's your beautiful gray hair with the silhouette of Mother, Miss Keisha Kash, but of Mother and the font and all those things. So as a reader, you can't help but enter reading the book from the lens of, is he talking about Top Model right now? Like, did this happen in Top Model? Did this happen behind the scenes? I mean, I'm just being real about it.
Yes. And you know what? Again, the book ultimately is designed absolutely, for people for fans of the show. There are Easter eggs baked throughout. I know you've read the book. And ultimately, there are things you recognize, but you're seeing it from a different, POV, and you're going, so is this really what happened? Or is this what was really going on behind the scenes? And it's really up to the reader to kind of figure out what's fact, what's fiction. It is a fictional story arc for sure. I can say that it is a novel, and it is just inspired by. And, to be fair, yes, is Pablo inspired by me? Yes. But is he me? No. He took on a character onto himself. He really did it. And so did Keisha. So did several of the characters in the book. Like, there's a big ensemble group with cast of characters. It becomes like a wild ride. I know you probably talked to the page a few times. It does
a lot of times. A lot of times.
Yeah, and and you know what, the reason for that was, in today's age, stories of substance are always overlooked for viral sensation.
Yes.
And I took a page out of the Wachowskis' book, with the first Matrix film, and I had the pleasure of being able to work with them on the press junkets for the Matrix 2 and 3 films. But and they're brilliant, and I loved how the original Matrix film was, everyone thought they were going to see this cool sci-fi with cool new effects, but they walked out of there feeling like they were in church. That film was brilliant. And I wanted to tell a story of substance that had, some heartbreaking moments, but ultimately it's this journey of self, and how we all are on this journey of realizing that self-validation is the key. It's not about external validation, but where we get lost along the way. Like for Pablo, and I won't spoil the book, Pablo, when he meets Keisha, he reveres her, he loves her, he respects her. And ultimately, we learn that she was abandoned, in a different way than he was, because it's about he has an adoption story, which mirrors a lot my own story, which people didn't know that I was adopted. But that I wanted people to see how two people can come together almost in a warped relationship. Pablo saw Keisha as a mirror for himself.
Yes.
And then ultimately he gets lost in that and almost becomes her. And then people have to watch, because there's a lot of twists and turns, some big surprises at the end. So yeah, it is meant to make people think. And yes, the title mirrors the font of the show, which is a logo that I actually designed during season 1 when we did. People don't know that I actually did.
Spill it, Jay, spill it.
People don't know, season 1 there was no title of the show when we shot it. There was no title. It was a working title. And then literally, because Tyra kept saying, one of you will continue on with the hopes of becoming America's Next Top Model. That was part of a sentence that was given to her by one of our executive producers. So when we were doing the last episode and we revealed Adrianne as the winner, Tyra had done that shoot, the black and white shoot, and we'd shot Shannon and Adrianne. They were the final 2. So we mocked up like a fake magazine cover. And I remember Tyra literally sitting in my office. It was so low rent season 1. She was in my office in my apartment in the city. And she's like, okay, we got to make a magazine cover. Remember, there was no creative department. There was no digital department. It was me. It's what I do. So I was like, okay, well, what's the magazine going to look like? We knew we were going to use those black and whites, which she shot, which were very moody and cool and dramatic. So I said, I literally had a magazine lying on my desk. It's a magazine I used to buy all the time, Top Photographer. And I said, well, you always say America's Next Top Model. Why don't we make the magazine America's Next Top Model? And we mimicked the Top Photographer thing. I did the font, laid it out. Then after the show was shot, the network said, because remember, we printed these covers, hanging it on fishing line. And then literally the network was like, oh, guess the title of the show is America's Next Top Model. And then they just took that logo, because it was shot on that little, billboard. Actually, it was really tired when they revealed the winner. I don't know if you remember the whole thing. The cover nearly came off the fishing line. But yeah, so they kind of used that logo, and of course, I never got credit for it. So I felt like, it was time to play around with things that I created. But it's fine. It's different words. Meets copyright.
Now let me ask you this: am I coming through blurry right now?
Nope, you're not. I see you sharp.
I'm fine. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure. Okay, so I want to get into some questions that I'm going to say, is it fabulously hashtag, is it fabulously fiction or fiercely fact? those who read the book know what I'm doing right now. Okay, so the first question I have is that Miss Keisha Kash in the book is famous for basically taking credit for other people's ideas and taking on the personality traits of those surrounding her, such as her taking on like the hashtag thing that Pablo does. Is this your experience with Top Model?
I would say that that is partially fabulously fiction.
Okay. Okay.
That I had to, that's like a Keisha trait. I really wanted her to be, you know, she's a complex character. You know, I wanted people to feel, you know, when we meet her, there's a vulnerability to her. I wanted people to empathize with her and really look at this as a woman who's been in this pressure cooker of her career, you know, not only as a female in an industry run by men, but also a Black woman run by an industry that's predominantly, you know, white men celebrating the white aesthetic. So I wanted people to feel that pressure cooker. But Keisha, that's a trait I gave Keisha.
Okay, fabulously fiction or fiercely facts?
Yes.
Pablo is always saving the day for Model Muse. Do you have any specific BTS moments where you had to Olivia Pope a situation? I mean, you've already told us about the whole thingy, but give me another one.
Okay, so yes, that is a bit. That is a. What did you say? What was that? A fierce fact? Hashtag fierce fact.
Yes.
Fiercely fact. Yes, that I had many moments like that from like season 1. You know, they had a producer who was supposed to produce photo shoots. I remember going into the second photo shoot. They're like, "Oh, so we're supposed to do a photo shoot tomorrow morning. It's 5 p.m. We don't have a photographer or a location, you know." Remember, these are producers. They don't know the fashion industry and how cliquish it is. And Tyra turned to me and said, we need to do something. So I called up my friend, Daniel Garriga, who's, you know, now an accomplished photographer and director. He was managing Pier 59 Studios. And I literally called him up. Pier 59 Studios, for those who don't know, is like one of the big studios in New York City. Called him up. I said, we need to shoot there tomorrow. He's like, done. And then I called, you know, all in favors with major photographers that I know, and I just started bringing them in. And even when we were in Paris in season 1, they literally said, okay, you need to find a photographer for this photo shoot. Remember the nude shoot with the Grease, the jewelry shoot that Robin and Shannon didn't want to do and all of that? Well, I had to find a photographer while I was in Paris, and people were jet lagged, including Mother. And they said, okay, let us know what you figure out. And they went to sleep. And I had to find a photographer and make the shoot happen. That's why by season 2, I really was a producer, because I was just doing all this stuff season 1 that was just not my job.
That wasn't your job.
Yeah.
Okay. Fabulously fiction or fiercely factual? There is a turning point for me that I'm going to describe in a certain way that still makes you guys want to go read. But there's a moment where Pablo overhears Keisha talking to, I believe it's the Vaughn character. I can't remember. But she's basically talking about this talk show that's been greenlit. And the person is telling, I believe it's Royce. He's telling her, hey, you know, this show with you and Pablo has been greenlit. And Keisha's like, F Pablo, it ain't got crap to do with him. Tell them there was a mix-up, and now I just want to talk show by myself.
Oh, see, now you're spilling moments. You're spilling moments from the book. We don't want to do spoilers.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get the tea.
I will say this. There was something at one point in the works where we were meeting with all the major studios, and there was a little bit of a bait and switch. I'll say that.
And I will take that. Thank you. Okay.
But no more spoilers.
I got you. So there's another moment in Model Muse where I won't spoil it, but there's a moment that gets kind of uncontrollable in terms of the social media sphere, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And there's all this behind the scenes, like trying to clean it up, trying to fix it. All of these like different social media little things here to try to fix it, to try to save the show. Has there been any moment in Top Model?
Oh, absolutely. And you know, this is a perfect tie-in because a lot of people saying, oh, by the way, someone said, wait, Jay is 50. I am 48. I am not claiming 50. So that's actually a really good question because
let them know, Jay.
so in terms of the top model, there were definitely moments that people didn't see. You know, some of the struggles with poor Molly's weave to you know, one of the most famous moments. One of the big famous moments, you know, the famous meltdown. You can Google it out there. You know, Tiffany's spoken about it. Everybody thinks that meltdown puts them on edge when they watch it, right? You guys saw this much. There was this much. That eruption is something I will never forget. I will never forget. Yeah.
Is there anything you can tell us about this volcanic eruption that occurred? Just a little.
Well, you know, I mean, I can't really even speak to the motivation and as to why everything is, you know, was kind of why it went the way it did. But I think ultimately, and quite genuinely, you know, everyone wanted to see Tiffany succeed. Yeah, they just wanted to see her succeed. Yeah. So, and I think that's where a lot of it came from. But yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, moving on. So there is also another moment when I read the book where, not to spoil it, but as a viewer, it gave me a little Shandy. And so my question is, fact or fiction, has there been moments where production has kind of, for lack of better terms, set up someone? And there's another moment in the book where the character, Nicole, I'm not going to say what happens, but guys, please get the book, because that was one moment I texted Jay, I was like, wait, what just happened? Where in response to Keisha Kash's ego being kind of hurt, she does something to Nicole as kind of like a payback. At least that's how I read it. Has there been moments where production and or potentially mother's ego was hurt, where a girl got the short end of the stick?
Well, I think people talked about it in some of the last lives. You know, and actually most recently we were talking about Asmarie. I live for Asmarie. Asmarie was on another level. First of all, she knew exactly who she was. Yeah, Asmarie was one of those people where she just didn't want to do, you know, what she was asked to do. And so I think she was kind of eliminated for it. And that's really unfortunate.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So in your past interviews, like with Baby Smith, you talked about the character that's inspired by Nigel Barker and what was factual and not like what didn't happen. Sasha, who's in the book, who kind of to me reads as like the Janice Dickinson character. We kind of already know Janice Dickinson's story, but there's a character on the panel named Miss Thing that kind of likens herself to a certain fabulous runway coach. Now, in the book, without giving spoilers, because I don't want another whooping, Miss Thing does some things that probably isn't as honest. I'll just say honest. What's factual? Sorry, what's factual and what's
fiction? So, and by the way, I'm going to answer everyone down below because a lot of people are writing like, oh, are we going to answer the other fan questions? I'm absolutely going to jump to you guys right now. Don't worry. I haven't forgotten you. I am going to connect to you guys, so I will be there in 1 second. But to answer your question, you know, again, this is a work of fiction, but it's made to be larger than life. But there are some, you know, sometimes people get a little messy behind the scenes and they like to talk. So, you know, it's just a little bit. Someone said Jay's biting his lip here. I'm biting my lip a little bit. But, you know, that's for people to read and enjoy and figure out what they think is real and what's not. But I think people know. People are saying you jacked their question. Someone said, that was my question.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I will get to everyone else's questions. Do you have another question?
Yes.
I'm one big question, because I know I gotta get to everybody else here, and I don't want to piss anybody off.
There's another moment. Well, there's a character by the name of Joe Vong in the book. I'm not going to say the name because I know my people down in the comments are going to do it for me. And go. run-ins that you had in this toxic environment that you can remember with said person?
With said person, there are several.
Give me like
what I'm gonna say is, again, this is about, you know, being kind of, I gotta be a little, you know, truthful here. You know, some people are saying, girl, you gotta give us a little more. So I'll give just a little bit. The truth is, if you ask around town in the entertainment industry, his name is floating down there in the comments. Ask about him.
For me. Thank you.
See if y'all can find positive stories about him. See if you can find positive stories about him. You really can't. And so the person that's written pretty much close to the page in terms of being explosive, toxic, very manipulative behind the scenes is said person. Said person literally created a lot of drama between not only the girls, but even the talent on set, and was always manipulating everything in front and behind the camera. And, you know, especially when I was really kind of, you know, I felt like I couldn't be a part of the show anymore. And it was that I've talked about this, how I left after cycle 8. They asked me to come back to just do one cycle 9. And when we were in China, it was like the worst cycle ever. I remember said person, we'll say Joe Vong, asked me to come have like a talk with him. And I literally went and met with him. And he's like, and I was like, okay, hold on. Okay, I'm done. You can't yell at me. You're not going to just yell at me.
No.
Like, there's nothing that is going to incentivize, like, there's nothing here that's incentivizing me to stay. I came back to do this one cycle. And so basically, yeah, all I say to people is ask around town. His reputation precedes him, like, and it also follows him. So, and I know, because someone that you're working with, who was a producer on the show, who I love dearly, he's had his run-ins with said person, to the point that why he left the show. I think he is the reason most people left the show. Actually, I know every producer that left the show left because of him.
That's funny.
I mean, it's the truth, but it's the truth though.
So in the book, and this is my second to last meltdown question, then I have some wrap-up questions. But in the book, there are some girls in the book that are kind of described as deserving. Like the Pablo character is like, well, why aren't we picking this person? And Miss Keisha Kash, Mother Keisha Kash, has a very premeditated way of how she wants the season to end, who she wants eliminated then, who she wants eliminated, you know, whenever, and who she eventually wants to win. And I know as a viewer, there are certain girls where I was like, well, why did she just get eliminated? What's going on? Such as the Asmaries. I see people down here saying justice for Nick. Yes, justice for freaking Nick. Is this something that was presently happening in the top model world?
So taking back to top model, because I know a lot of people are saying, oh, hold on, some of us haven't read the book. And again, the book is fiction, but I'll speak to top model specifically. You know, I think a lot of you guys, I think the reason so many fans and so many of you here who are listening and chiming in down below, you guys saw the truth. You saw through this kind of veneer of reality, right? You knew what was true. Like everyone felt when, you know, as Marie was eliminated, it doesn't matter how they sliced it and diced it on camera. You knew what was going on. And there were a lot of, you know, decisions that were made with eliminations, unfortunately, behind the scenes. And I remember, especially in those later cycles, because I would sit in those final judgings, they're like, okay, we're all good with who's going to win, da, 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 as we're about to shoot. Like it became very orchestrated, you know what I mean? And the thing is, they thought they were fooling the fans, but you guys are so smart. You guys can see through the edit and the gloss. You saw the truth. So yeah. Justice for Nick. I know. I see that.
Justice freaking. Let's just do it. Let's say justice
again. Another justice for Nick.
Justice for Nick. Justice for Katarzyna. Justice for Asmarie. Slight justice for Jade Cole, because I honestly don't believe Jade was that. Was she really that bad? Jade.
Well, here's the thing too. Again, you guys got to remember, working on a reality show, it's a really warped environment. You know, you're mic'd until you go to bed, and cameras in your face, and you become desensitized to everything. So did Jade truly go on? She did. I mean, you can't edit what isn't on camera. and she was looking at it as a competition. You know, you feel the energy around you. Like I feel so badly for these girls. They're set up like it's the Hunger Games. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
you're pit against everybody. So who knows what Jade was really kind of going through. But it is a difficult environment to be in. I'm not going to lie, but she was all that and a bag of Doritos.
Mother
It was
is
a lot of,
everything. It's everything. Okay,
yes.
my last meltdown question. So in the book, it almost appears as if Model Muse is kind of a vehicle for Miss Keisha Kash and everything that, you know, she wants to cash in on.
Uh-huh.
Such as her different ventures. And as a viewer, I will say, as a longtime fan of the show, there have been moments where I'm like, well, I know, Jake, you can't say it. I'll say it. I'm like, girl, Tyra, why is there a music video going on right now? Why are you trying to sell me makeup? Why is there a book with aliens flying across the damn galaxy and stars and falling down and crashing and burning?
Well,
all these things?
I know what your question ultimately is. And at the end of the day, again, you know, my book is fiction, but speaking about model, I know, for instance, when Top Model started, Tyra's intention truly was she wanted to find that next top model. I know that for the truth. By the way, people are giving you yes for asking that question.
I got you.
You know, she really, there was a very honest intention there to find that next top model. Things started to change. And you know what, when you're in that position and you're trying to build a brand, I understand you're wanting to kind of do your thing and have it cross promote. I think it did get a bit much at times. Like when we got all the way to Super Smize, I was like, okay. I'll be honest with y'all, I couldn't even watch that. I was like, oh, I can't watch that. So
Pot lead 'em. I didn't care for none of that. The whole Cycle 4 runway with the goddesses and going to Hades and fighting Zeus.
That was like that was all the way. That was 17. Yeah, but yeah.
Double X2O baby, messing with the theme song. I didn't care for. It was
yes. So well, I know that's where things go. And you know what? When you work in that world, we got to show up and do our job. How about that?
So, to digress, and as I make my exit, I know Mother has read this book. I know she's read it.
I don't know that actually for a fact.
Well, I know you may not know for a fact, but I know. I know Mother has read this book. What do you think she's saying right now?
Well, ultimately, I don't know what she's saying, but ultimately that I hope that she sees, you know, this is one POV and it's meant to be a piece of satire. It's meant to be a lot of fun. But ultimately there is a 360 portrait of a whole group of characters. This is not just, this is not a, you know, a look just from a one-sided look. This is a 360 portrait. We're all human beings. We all struggle. We all deal with different things. So. Yeah. In
your talks in Jay's chat and in all of your interviews, you talk about like how therapeutic the book is for you. Is there any moment, and before I say that, Pablo has a moment of like self-realization in the book where he's asking himself like, am I the bad person? Like, did I go somewhere wrong?
Sure.
Does Jay Manuel himself, is there something that you can think of or describe where you yourself in the world of Top Model that you were in felt like you were kind of derailed from who you were as a person?
Absolutely. I think we all question ourselves in our lives. And I know, you know, for me, even on Top Model, there were moments where I was questioning, like, what are we doing? What am I doing? What is my real contribution? How am I really, you know, helping and doing things that are new and different? So absolutely. I think it was important to question, and it was also important to kind of realize that within the character in the book as well. So,
yes. Yeah. If you were ever asked,
I love your answer. You know, I'm going to have to get to all the other people here. They're
one more question.
Kill me.
One more question.
Okay. One more question.
Would you ever go back to Top Model? And what is next for Mr. Jay Manuel? Because we miss you.
Well, I don't think. First of all, you know, Top Model's been off the air for a few years. If they were to do some final, you know, I don't know, All Stars, whatever, cycle 25. I highly doubt they'll be reaching out to me. So I will say that. But what's next for me, I am definitely working on other projects. You know, some I can't talk about. What I can talk about, because a lot of people have asked, is there going to be a book two, like a portion of this? And they're absolutely, I am working on it. And it is, the story starts off with a big bang. And it's really exciting. So that is definitely in the works right now.
Well, Jay, I just want to say thank you so much for gifting the inner boy in me that was in my room binge watching Top Model years ago. Just this live, all of our interactions outside of it, I'm so grateful. I am so thankful. It means so
I'm thankful for you guys. Like, hearing your excitement is what fuels me. And I'm so excited that I got to kind of meet you face to face, so to speak, on live, and that I'm going to connect with a few more of you right now. And again, I really appreciate, I was excited when I saw your video where you received the book and everything. It was, I'm glad, you know, again, you can't do any of this in a vacuum. And it's like, having people appreciate your work is truly the blessing. So thank you.
No, you're
Thank
so
you so
welcome.
much.
You're so welcome.
We will definitely continue to catch up and stay in touch. I will talk to you. Look, people are saying thank you, Oliver, for your good questions. So people are loving our co-host. By the way, watch for Oliver. He was on this live, but Oliver's about to be everywhere. You're going to blow up.
Yeah, you got to tell him, Jay.
I'm going to
tell him, Jay.
Oliver is about to blow up. They're going so many good questions. So I will say thank you so much. I'm going to connect with more of you right here. I've got a list of you guys right here that responded to me this morning. So thanks, Oliver. I will talk to you really soon.
Bye.
Take care.
Come home.